About a week ago, Noel and I traveled up to Ellisville, Mississippi for the South Mississippi Toy Swap. This is one of our favorite shows to attend just because it's a little bit smaller than some of the really large ones. And while it is a little bit further away than the shows that I typically travel to, I do think it's worth it. We have a lot of friends that always vend this event. And there's always new folks there that you've never seen before. So it's like a great combination of, you get guaranteed to have some great stuff that you probably saw at another show and you didn't buy because you were just waiting for the right time. But then you also have a lot of fresh meat, so to speak. People that you've never seen vending before, and you never know what those people are going to have. So I would love to say it was a beautiful day, but it was actually kind of gross out there. Thankfully, we were inside and got to be in this pretty nice little venue. And right off the bat, we got these fellas. I actually have seen them at a few shows. Apparently they're a couple brothers. So it's going to be a recurring theme at this show. And they had a ton of Transformers and One Piece cards, pops, just kind of a good little spread of stuff. And then right next to them was another set of brothers. These are some guys that are often my favorite vendors at this show because they don't vend every time, but when they do, man, they always bring out the great stuff. This time they had brought quite a bunch of Motu type stuff, not just He-Man, but also some of the kind of ancillary products. You can see this Super 7 Eldor there. And then over here, check out this bootleg vehicle, the Grid Invader. I love that they have Clawful posed on there, even though it's not a He-Man toy. You can see it was fairly crowded here in the entranceway. Not a ton of people in the building. I think the rain kept too many more from coming out, at least while we were there. Which, was nice for us, but I'm sure the vendors would have loved to have a little bit more traffic than they did. One thing I really like about this show is there's always a good mix of vintage and modern stuff. It's not like you just have a bunch of vendors with brand new items. You got basically whatever you collect, I bet you can find something that you want. Thought these Nintendo powers were pretty cool. It's not every weekend that Noelle is feeling up to traveling with me, so I felt very lucky to have her around while I was digging through these bins of toys. And of course, she did her best to stay off camera, but I'm sure she's going to peek in here every once in a while. Oh boy, look at that Fortress of Fangs. The last time I saw it in the Chifuncta video, it didn't have the gargoyle on the back, so maybe if I wait, it'll eventually be complete. And here we have some beautiful plushes made by Ninja Neko Sewing Master. I brought home a little mouse for Noelle a while back, so I knew she was going to be going home with something from that pile. Love to see that boxed B-Wing right there from the Kenner toy line. Great mixture of vintage and modern just on this one table. I don't know if you could tell, but that's actually a pool table. Billiards? You know, not like a swimming pool, like a pool ball, you know, like balls, you know. This fellow was vending his first toy show. He was real excited about it, and he had some great stuff, man. A nice little setup. Hope to see more from him in the future. He was very friendly, and I'm sure anybody who bought from him got some great deals. I know I did. So as you're first walking in here, you got this big open room, but there's even more in the back. I really liked this guy. Had some custom painted figures. I don't know how well I got coverage of them, but yeah, right here you can see that Bowser, and everything that was around that was all custom painted by, I assume, by the vendor. I didn't actually stop and talk to him. These folks do raffles at every event, so if you ever visit, you can always give some money for a good cause, and you know, maybe go home with something that you didn't pay full price for. This vendor is Matt Coleman, and he always has on Captain America shirts, so I was absolutely taken aback to see him in a Daredevil shirt. Here we have some bins from the Brick Wall, our friends Davison and Keith. Love those guys so much. Always look forward to seeing them at every event. And they always have a huge setup at this show with several bins full of toys that you can dig through for some treasure, as well as, you know, comics and higher end stuff on the shelves. Always worth spending some time getting your arms into there, because you never know what's going to be at the bottom of one of these things. Here we have Codename Skillet with some great vintage toys. Got dig bins, carded figures. I thought these Micromasters on card were kind of awesome. And this fella is another Mississippi vendor, and I don't know what his kind of special deal is, but somehow he's always getting rare, weird, oddball stuff. This time around he had some really cool micro play sets, as well as Primal Rage and Dino Riders figures that he didn't have the last time I saw him. I think I've picked this guy up at least 3 times in previous videos. One of these days I'm going to go home with him, but today wasn't the day. Here's a better view of Codename Skillet's inventory. Really nice selection of vintage Joes and Battlestar Galactica, and Black Star, Supernaturals, Visionaries, Secret Wars. Heck, even had some vintage Strawberry Shortcake figures over here. Here's a better view at the Brick Wall's comics and display case. And there's that Shogun Warrior. We first saw him at the Dead Media Market, and I think he's following me around. He's trying to tell me something.
I watch all your videos.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Of course, one of the best things about going to these smaller toy shows is getting to visit and hang out with people you don't see every day, you know, people who are just as crazy about toys as you are. And this was no exception. Just had a great time just talking about toys and looking at toys and handling toys and buying toys. It was a toy heavy experience, you know. I enjoyed seeing this large selection of Alien and Predator toys from Kenner all in one place. I feel like I see them in the package more often than out, so I loved being able to sort of get my hands on them and see them next to each other. I love weird little guys, and this is a weird little guy, this walking dinosaur. We actually have one of these in the box that's it's a very similar design to the dinosaur, but it's a completely different box. I love when variations on things exist like that. This booth is From Beyond, one of my favorites to see. They feel like they just started cropping up at a lot of the local events, and they always have a great selection of cool kind of horror related or horror adjacent things. I love how they have all these movie posters up and this advertising copy. You know, it's not just toys or just anything. They've got a little bit of everything. So no matter what you're into, you're bound to find something that you want. And of course, you know I love trading cards, so had to get some of these Dracula cards. Check out these trolls. They got a street shark there, a giant turtle, some reaction figures, and that police academy headquarters is pretty sweet. This was the first time that I ever saw one of these alternation figures in person. I've seen them for sale online, I think on Amazon, and they always look like something that's, I don't know, like not real, like a scam product, but in person it actually looked alright. While I was at this gentleman's booth, they called out one of the raffle numbers, and he missed it by one number. The brick wall always has a great selection of vintage lunch boxes. If you're into that sort of thing, they've got you covered for sure. And I thought this little Yakko, Wacko, and Dot tricycle was pretty cute. Didn't end up buying it, but maybe if I see it again. These folks had an interesting assortment of Star Wars stuff. This open booster of Champions of the Force, they had priced at $80. I'm not really sure what they were doing. Maybe there was a figure in there that was expensive. I did not look any further into it. Did have some less common Star Wars figures from sort of the prequels era. There's a great booth if you're into Legos. They had a bunch of retired sets and lightly used sets all bagged and ready for you. Great way to save some money on Legos if you're not too picky about box condition or anything like that. And here's a couple that is at every single one of these shows. and I believe they own an antique booth close by, and it seems like they bring a big part of their inventory in, and they always give a huge discount off of what their price tags are. I did not know what this lion robot was, but hey, I like cats and I like robots, and $5 is kind of a sweet spot price, so I ended up grabbing that one. And apparently I missed the Bosk here. I can see it right there on the corner of the table. Could have me another Bosk. And I looked at this Action Masters Starscream for a little longer than I probably should have. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to realize that both of his wings were broken off. And while $5 is no high price for that thing, it's, it's just kind of a project that you can never fix. Still a nice selection of random vintage toys here, a mixture of, really old and not too old. And here's Azure Comics. Ray is a super chill dude. He always has Transformers somehow. And this time he even had a Transformer I'd never seen before. It's a bootleg of a third-party Bruticus that's known as Fruticus in some circles. I was real tempted by this thing, and I think the price he was asking was pretty fair. But at the end of the day, I decided not to bring it home. Fruticus is a pretty amazing name, though. Here we're moving into the Map of Lost Treasures booth. Always getting in new stuff. I was, of course, immediately drawn to some items that were being held for another vendor. We always want what we can't have. But I did end up finding some great stuff in this booth, as did Noel. Look at that, Eureka's Castle puppet. I think that might have been like a Pizza Hut promotion. Here on the back wall, we have Scotty's Toys, the organizer of this show, Scotty Whitehurst and Brandon Whitehurst. They are a huge percentage of the Bros Before Shows team, and they always have some great stuff. I love seeing these old Super Mario comics, and of course the Joe comics, and Turtles, and just all the wonderful stuff that I loved as a kid and can't stop buying as an adult. I don't think I got them on camera, but Brandon did have a couple of old Cabbage Patch Kids dolls that he tried really hard to get us to take home. Thankfully, we did avoid that. Got some Monster High, some Labubu's, some more Legos, and, nice assortment of G.I. Joes here. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if you're anywhere close by, you got to check this show out, and also their larger show, the South Mississippi Toy Fest. This is the swap. The Fest is the bigger one. We're getting very close to the end of my footage of the show here. But that's not the end of the video. Make sure you stick around till the end and see what I brought home to add to my dragon hoard. Thanks for hanging out with us while we walked through the South Mississippi Toy Swap up in Ellisville, Mississippi. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Obviously, found a lot of great stuff, and I know that's why you're here, is to see all of that. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, we got some cool small stuff. Most of these came from the same vendors as a couple of brothers who I don't know them super well, but I see them a lot at local shows, and they're super cool dudes. We got this Fastmax Birdie. I've been trying to collect these. I'm trying to get all of them still sealed on the card and all of them loose, so I'm making progress there. They also had these little rubber monsters that I don't know what they're from. I'm gonna go with maybe Ultraman, but I'm willing to be told that's not correct. Doesn't matter what they are, they're absolutely amazing. This guy as well, they were all in one little bag, so we had to bring home those weird little dudes. Also from those guys, here's some things that didn't quite fit on camera here. I got a huge bag of slug zombies, which are, obviously if you're familiar with muscle men, you kind of right away are gonna see these little, they call them flesh colored, the human characters are all this sort of pinky sort of tone, and then all the zombies are this gross radioactive green. I remember buying a bunch of these from Toys R Us when they were, it was like maybe a year or two before they closed down, and I really like them. I think they're awesome, and I always buy them whenever I see them for a good deal, and this was a great deal, so definitely had to bring those home. Also from those wonderful fellas was this KO sort of, it's like, it's not Devastator, but it's not Devastator, you know what I'm saying? He's got all of the different construction vehicles there, and he comes on this gigantic card back. Apparently his name is Slusher Car, which, okay. Tell me your name's Slusher Car, I'm not going to argue with you. I remember seeing these a lot at Tuesday Morning, not that long ago. I mean, I say that, it's probably like 15 years ago at this point, but they were kind of all over the place, and I always just kind of poo-pooed them because they weren't real Transformers, you know, but now I'm into the weird stuff, so here we are. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to open this thing or just leave it on the card. Probably going to look better and have a lot more fun with it just still on the card, but not really a mint-on card guy, so that remains to be seen what will happen to this. Stay tuned. So there's a couple other things that came from those fellas, these books in the back, but we're gonna have to wait until I clear some space to get to those. From Scotty and Brandon Whitehurst, we got this awesome Skidmark G.I. Joe character. He's definitely a punchline, and that's why I like him. So anytime I see Skidmark pretty cheap, I'm gonna be picking that guy up. And in a similar vein, but for a different reason, we have this much maligned Firefly figure, the one that came with a spinning top as a weapon. I actually don't have this guy yet, or didn't, and now I do. So I'm trying to collect as many of the variations of Firefly as I can. And, this is one of those. From another booth up in the front of the room, we got this absolutely adorable plush bat sort of keychain hanger, and also we got a frog that I cannot find him at the moment, so I'll definitely put a nice shot of him and I'll also show you a link to the creator's Instagram so y'all can follow her and see all of the really cute stuff that she makes. Hand-sewn plushes this cute, holy cow. And then from the same vendor, but the manlier, tougher side of their items, of course I picked up a Bosk. You gotta get a Kenner Bosk at every show if possible. It's a rule I put on myself, so mission accomplished there. Still in that front room, the first area where you first come from, there was a fella that I had met before at one of the card shows, and this was his first event setting up. And I picked up a few items from him that he had extremely cheap, and I couldn't say no. We got this, it's a pretty modern Voltron by Playmates. It's the Yellow Lion. You know, I already have this entire Voltron fully assembled, but hey, it never hurts to start on your second Voltron, right? And this is like the classic style. I really like this set of lions, and I couldn't leave it behind. He also had this lion robot, which, you know, I like cats. What am I going to say no to? Apparently this is from Power Rangers Wild Force, which is not something that I'm very familiar with, but I was told by my friend Davison while we were there. I'm just thrilled to have this cool robot lion. And then one more thing from that fella in the front. Got a Changeables Big Mac, or no, that's a double quarter pounder with cheese. What am I talking about? I can't leave Changeables behind when I see them. And I saw this one, so now I brought it with me. So now we're moving into the back room of the well, this place is the Baptist Student Union, I think. It's at the back room of the Student Union. We have a Steve Irwin, sort of 6-inch scale Steve Irwin figure. I know these are not like rare or anything, but I've just never seen one for sale that I when I was wanting to buy it. And Jason Mapp at Map of Lost Treasures, he had this fella, and at very, very cheap price, and I think he even went lower on it without me asking. So, you know, what am I gonna say? I'm not gonna buy that. And also from Jason, I got this bag of Sky Commanders stuff. I'm not even really sure, you know, which set this goes to. I'm not like a huge Sky Commanders collector, but I do like them. They make me think of Air Raiders, which is one that I am a collector of. And so, you know, good price. His little string has not been snipped yet. So I brought home this sack of stuff. And also from Jason was this Soma kids watch with a cool spinning robot on it. This is definitely not, you know, from a property or anything, but it is pretty freaking cool. And it's got the watch is not working anymore. I don't think I would be able to replace the battery in any way. Let's see. Yeah, it's definitely not designed to be replaced, but I mean, this is just too cool. It was pretty cheap, so I just bought it because I liked it. And this was the guy right here that kicked off my buying cats at this show. There's a nice couple that has an antique booth, and they bring everything in from it to these shows, and they always have some interesting stuff. But I've never seen this lion robot before. I don't know what he's from. I'll try and do a little research once I get done with this video, just to see if I can identify it and, you know, educate both of us at the same time. But, you know, this was like $5. I'm not going to pass up a cool robot, especially a cat one, for $5. Now, I do have some cards to show you, but I'm saving those for last. And of course, I'm saving this crazy He-Man for last too. But let's take a look at these books. Some of these I picked out, some Noel picked out. I think we both have real good taste in these old kids books. So we got a Dark Crystal book and record. This one's got the record in it there. That was from the two brothers in the front room, as was this Meet My Pet Monster golden book. Let me know if you want to hear me read any of these. Also got the Berenstain Bears Learn About Strangers. This was, I don't know if I remember this one specifically from when I was a kid, but we read a lot of Berenstain Bears. And then finally we got a Richard Scarry Please and Thank You book. With this poor hippopotamus is about to ruin her life and start investigating Tekka chairs and just, you know, to find out what's going on. Okay, we have one item before I get into the cards, and it's a heck of a doozy. We got this absolutely incredible bootleg Battle Cat and He-Man. Now I got these from the Brick Wall from Keith over there, and he knows how much I love Battle Cat, and you know, He-Man's not too bad either. But the real star of this attraction here is Mr. Battle Cat. I'm going to take off this armor so you can see the eyes that are waiting for you, but you're not prepared for what's going to be under there. Doesn't he just... he's just staring into your soul. Hello, Battle Cat, I love you. A while back, Keith beat me to a Battle Cat. It wasn't the same as this bootleg Battle Cat and He-Man. It was very different, but it was similarly amazing to this pair, and so he knew that I would want this thing, and he gave it to me at a very cool price. And he knows this thing's never gonna leave my collection. I'll die with this. Bury me with my red and yellow Battle Cat. Big thanks to Keith at the Brick Wall. And, you know, we'll throw some thanks to Davison, too, just for being a cool dude. But I really appreciate getting these things. Alright, so these are not chronological, but I did get some cool packs. From the first room, we got some Alien 3 packs from Johnny Vasquez. I've opened one of these before, I think, and it was really cool. He actually threw me one for free, and I was like, oh, well... you got more, huh? So we got these. Then we got a couple packs of Dracula cards from Beyond. They're great vendors that I've been around a bunch, but never really interacted with them. And we finally got to talking with them a little bit. I'll admit it was Noel Moore that was doing the talking, but they were really cool and got these awesome Dracula packs that I can't wait to open. And then these packs came from Map of Lost Treasures. We got American Vintage Cycles, which he just threw into the pile after we were settling up. And then finally, the thing that I absolutely cannot wait to open is this pack of Branson on Stage, which I assume, you know, America's favorite country music showplace. So I'm really hoping we can get a Shoji Tabuchi out of this pack. And, so let's finish this haul section with a pack of Branson on Stage, the only pack I've ever seen. Am I gonna love this thing and I gotta get more? Branson on Stage, Series 1 collector cards, 1992. So order a Branson on Stage complete set poster. It's at $7. That seems like a great deal. Alright, really hoping for Shoji Tabuchi or Shoji Tabuchi's wife or Shoji Tabuchi's daughter. I'll take anything Shoji Tabuchi related. That word has now lost all meaning. Okay. We're kicking it off with Boxcar Willie. I've heard of that guy. We got our checklist. Ooh, I'm not gonna look at it. I don't want to know if Shoji is in here yet. We'll look. After I get through the cards, we'll look and see if I could have had what I wanted. Got John Davidson. Another John Davidson. I've seen this guy before, maybe as like an announcer on something. I'm not really sure. We got Jerry Clower and his adorable... is that a dog or a cat? What is that? Why can't I tell? Hold on. Shepherd of the Hills. Another checklist. Is this the same checklist? We'll find out in just a minute. We have Barbara Fairchild. Backwood Quartet. And our last card is another Jerry Clower. Okay, let's find out if we could have gotten Shoji Tabuchi and if we got a duplicate checklist in this pack. Alright, what we got there and there. Okay. It is absolutely a duplicate checklist, so that's pretty rough. Okay, let's see. Merle Haggard, Foggy River Boys, Shoji Tabuchi, number 44. Okay. Lee Greenwood, I've heard of that guy. We got all the Mandrells, Loretta Lynn, another Lee Greenwood. No second Shoji Tabuchi though, that's a real bummer. That was fun. Definitely my favorite thing from this trip was the bootleg Battle Cat you see in the background here. So let's just leave him in focus as we finish everything up here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while I went to this show. It remains one of my favorite smaller shows to go to. Maybe my favorite. I don't know. It's like this one doesn't happen that often, so maybe when it does happen, I have a lot stronger feelings about it. I do think Dead Media Market maybe is just a better, more unique experience. I don't know. It's really hard to choose. It's like choosing between your favorite children, you know? Except I have no skin in the game, so to speak, for either one of these shows. But I definitely highly recommend visiting them if you get a chance. I'd love to know what you thought of my video and of the show and my haul. Just talk to me. Let's get a dialogue going. Didn't you hear what He-Man said in that movie? We got to talk about our problems, not punch each other. Until next time, let's all try to be cool.